Great. Clive, thanks for joining us.
Oh.
You can sit right here next to Diego. Can you get out your Call of the Wild book? Cool. So scholars, today we are looking at Call of the Wild. Turn to page 31. Good. Diego's turning to page 31. Amani and Leslie are there. Julissa is there. Nice. Cool. Track me. Thanks, Julissa. Thanks, Amani. Great. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, first, snapping the vocab in this book is like really outrageous sometimes. Like really hard to understand. I've already had to look up several different words as I'm reading through myself a second time. So today I want to give you guys a strategy, not necessarily to figure out what a word means, but instead to decide, do I need to actually define this word or look it up separately? Or can I just kind of like pass on, and can I figure out the meaning of what's going on in the text without defining that word, essentially? Make sense? Cool. So today I'm going to walk you guys through my thinking process as I would read this book, a certain part of chapter 3 that will start on Tuesday. And I want you guys to be listening. What's my process for making this decision about whether I need to define these words or whether I understand what's going on in the book without them? Make sense? So your thinking job is 1, what steps am I taking? And 2, what questions am I asking myself as I go through the process? Sound good? Cool. So we're starting at page 31. The dominant primordial beast was strong in buck, and under the fierce conditions of trail life, it grew and grew. Pause. So I'm reading this to myself. 2 words, dominant and primordial. Those two, I'm not really sure I know what they mean. Mostly primordial. I think I've heard dominant before. So I underline this word. I definitely don't know what it means. I need to figure that out. Now, is this word important to my understanding of the text? Let's see. Well, it's included in the title of the chapter, so I think it's pretty important. I think I'm going to need to look it up. And the other thing about this sentence is I'm not really being told through the context of the sentence what primordial might mean, right? I don't have many context clues. There's not a lot of synonyms for what this word is describing. So I'm going to take out my imaginary dictionary and look up what primordial means. Good news, I already looked it up ahead of time. It means primitive, and we had that on our vocab list earlier this week, if you guys remember. Good. So I'm going to annotate it. I'm going to star it because it means that I needed to look it up, and write primitive. Great, let's continue on. Yet it was a secret growth. His newborn cunning gave him poise and control. Ooh, cunning. Definitely don't know that word. Interesting. Let's see, is this an important word? It seems like it, right? It's talking about a change in Buck. It's definitely important to describing his new nature. Can I figure out what it means from context clues? Not necessarily. It says that the cunning gave him poise and control, so it seems like it made him more controlled, but I'm still not sure what cunning itself means. I don't want to get that wrong, so I want to make sure that I look it up. I'm going to star it, take out my imaginary dictionary. It looks like I had some hands. Do you guys know what cunning means? Diego?
I think like cunning, I do know what it means, but I don't know how to explain it. Like sort of like an artist of escape or something.
Interesting. I think, yeah, so you've heard it in describing an escape. That would make sense. Julissa? Yeah, I think it's smart. It's done in like, sort of like an inventive way. Right? It's done in like a smart or skillful way. Cool. So I'm going to write smart / skillful. Great. Let's keep going. He was too busy adjusting himself to the new life to feel at ease. And not only did he not pick fights, but he avoided them whenever possible. A certain deliberateness characterized his attitude. Ooh, deliberateness. I'm not exactly sure I know what that means, and it's kind of like a bigger word, so it jumps out to me as like kind of confusing. Is this word important to my understanding of the text? A certain deliberateness characterizes his attitude. Well, let me just describe sort of how he's acting. I actually don't think this word is very important. have a description of what's going on already. I'm going to pass over it. I'll put a little X here. If it turns out that I'm confused about what's happening in the text, I'll come back to it later. He was not prone to rashness and precipitate action, and in the bitter hatred between him and Spitz, he betrayed no impatience, shunned all offensive acts. Okay, two big words here that jump out to me right away. This rashness and precipitate. So, let's see. Rashness. I don't know what that word means. Is it important to my understanding of the text? Well, again, I think I do know what this word means because it has the word deliberate in it. And London is saying that Buck was not prone to rashness, and if I know he was deliberate, I'm going to assume that rashness is something that's not deliberate. Maybe something rushed or hurried. I'm not going to look that word up. I think I have a pretty good guess. For precipitate, this, I feel like I've seen this word before, but not in this context, so I'm a little bit confused about what it means. I'm going to look it up because it describes Buck's action, which we haven't heard much about yet, but I know we're going to. So I look up this word, Magic Dictionary on the side, and precipitate as an adjective means done without planning or without much forethought. So I'm going to write done without planning. And I double check my thinking. That also makes sense. If it's a precipitate action, it's definitely not deliberate if you don't plan it. Good. So, that's my example. What questions, what steps did you guys see that I took in order to decide, do I need to look this word up? Or can I move forward? What's one step? Leslie?
You checked if you needed to look it up by seeing if it was something important and if it was going to confuse you.
Yeah, excellent. So my first step, very obvious, I underlined words that I wasn't sure I knew, right? First step. The second step was, yeah, is this word important to my understanding of the text? Do I need to understand what it means in order to understand what's happening in the text? What's interesting in Call of the Wild is a lot of times London gives us a lot of synonyms, or he describes what's happening, and then we'll kind of like talk about a description of it. Does that make sense? So he'll describe a lot of action, and then he'll give a big word to describe that action. But we've already seen what's happened, so we don't really need to know what that word means. Good. So yes, so I decided, is it important? What did I do if I decided that it was important? Diego.
You would look it up?
Yeah, I would look it up, right? The first thing I would do is kind of check my understanding. Do I have context clues that tell me what this word means? So something like deliberateness, it was important, but I knew kind of based on what was happening in the text around it that I didn't need to spend the time to look it up, right? And then if I did need to look it up, like the word precipitate, like primordial, I did that action. It took a few minutes, but now I know what that word means, and I annotated for it, so I had a record in my book. The reason that this is so important, you guys, is that as you go on through your life in high school and college and beyond, you're going to come across many, many, many texts that have crazy words that you've never seen before. And that's okay. But you need to learn where should I spend my time when I look at a really difficult text? Do I spend it in a dictionary trying to look up all these words? Or do I spend it getting the gist of what's happening in the text and move forward from there? Cool? So as you guys go home this weekend, you're going to try it out yourselves. Star the words that you think you need to look up. Look them up if you need, and put an X next to words that you don't know, but you decided you didn't need to look up. Sound good? Any questions? Great. Also, the part about the homework was just for the grad school class. Don't worry, you don't have homework.
All right.